I'm Tara Siano. I hope when you look back at your life, you have the chance to experience another culture because you only go once.
Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of You Only Go Once. I am Eileen Grimes, and I am here with my amazing and wonderful friend and co-host, Cheryl Cantafio. This podcast, we explore stories around the limited time we have on this earth to create a fully layered life. And we are so excited to have the guest we have on tonight. I just can't wait. I have so many questions, but I will let Cheryl introduce before we jump in. Cheryl, to you.
Thanks, Eileen. Tara Siano is a recent graduate of Yonsei Graduate School of International Studies with a master's degree in Korean culture and communications. While studying in Seoul, South Korea, she focused on Hallyu 2.0, also known as the digital spread of Korean media, along with East Asian communication strategies and technologies. Currently, Tara has relocated back to the United States and has a communications specialist position at Guided Wealth Management, handling external communications. Everybody, please welcome Tara Siano. Tara, it's so good to have you here again. Welcome back. Oh my goodness. So just for the audience's knowledge, Eileen, Tara, and I used to work together at the same company. And Tara went on to pursue her dreams with the Korean language, as you can hear from the introduction, and actually moved to Korea to get her degree. So Tara, what was the impetus behind your interests with Korean culture and communications?
Everyone always asks, but it's like really long and deep. So I'll tell you kind of like the quick version. But basically, ever since I was really young, I was really interested in like East Asian cultures. Like I remember like age appropriate things. Like I really liked anime from Japan, and I learned a lot about Chinese tea ceremony. My mom and I used to go and things like that. So just from when I was young, I had like the interest. And even like in high school, I would write papers about like the Chinese Civil War instead of like what my other classmates were studying, like American wars and things. It just always interested me. And then I kept liking things like I love K-pop. Most people know that about me within like 5 minutes of meeting me. But I also went to a like communications conference in Chicago when I was in undergrad. And while I was there, I listened to the Korean American Communications Association's presentations, and they had a lot of different Korean scholars presenting, and they just seemed like really far ahead of the American presenters, I felt. And actually, Korea has a higher literacy rate and a higher Wi-Fi accessibility rate than the US, and their people are much more adaptive to new technologies. So because of that, they tend to like when LinkedIn drops a new like possibility on the platform, maybe like they tried Reels for a little bit. Like Koreans will use that immediately. They'll just go for it. But a lot of like American businesses will hold back and wait to see what other people do. So I think it lends itself to studying these technologies better. And anyway, when I wrote my thesis in undergrad, all of the professors of research I was pulling, they were all Korean names. So I was like, it seems like this is the best place to go to study. Plus, I love K-pop. Plus, all the Asian languages, like Hangul is the easiest to learn, the Korean letter writing system. So I decided to learn that one because I didn't want to have to learn katakana or like Mandarin, like it was too difficult. Hangul's really easy, so comparatively. So that's why I picked Korea.
That's amazing. So how long ago was it that you came back?
I only came back like a little less than a month ago.
Wow. Wow. And we were talking a little bit before we started recording, but what has that been like? I mean, what was it like to go there and transition? And then what's it been like then to transition back?
So when I first went, it was COVID, and they had like if you enter the country, there's a mandatory. It was 2 weeks when I was signing up to go, but it changed to 10 days, like a week before I went. So I had like 10 days of quarantine in like an Airbnb. And then I was supposed to go right to Seoul, but instead I ended up having like 3 extra days, and Incheon is the city that you fly into. And first of all, I had to like get in a taxi in quarantine to go to like a COVID testing site. And
Oh.
I also couldn't get any food because I thought it would be easy, but it wasn't. So my neighbor at home is Korean and she had to like send food for me to my Airbnb so I wouldn't
Oh,
starve.
wow.
Oh my
I had to
goodness.
I had to find a way to like hail a taxi when I'm not allowed to leave my house except for my COVID check-in. So it was really scary. And then the first day I was allowed to leave, I was like scared to even buy anything because I just was anxious at that point. Like, what if I try to buy like this oni or well, it's not onigiri in Korea, it's samgak kimbap. It's like a rice triangle.
Yeah,
Like I
Mm.
yeah.
wanted a rice triangle for lunch. And I was like, what if my card declines and I have no money in Korea? Like, I don't even want to know if that happens. Like, I'm not going to buy it because I don't want to know. I don't want to know yet if there's a problem. So it was really stressful. And then
Yeah.
the next 3 weeks, I lived in a new Airbnb while I was apartment hunting, but this time in Seoul. And like when I entered the city, I drove through this area called Hongdae, which now I love. It's like my favorite part in Korea. And like I would go there every weekend to have fun with my friends, but it's like a really busy kind of nightlife area.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like this main road that's really fast, and I just saw so many people outside and all these like stalls selling like hair accessories and I don't know, like other tchotchkes. And I was like, I
Mm-hmm.
was so stressed out. I couldn't leave my house
Yeah.
for like 24 hours. But then well, actually, I won't say it was so great at first. Like, I remember there's this one restaurant, and every time I pass it, I remember sitting in there and crying because they play a lot of like slow Troye Sivan songs. And I would always just like lose it. But eventually, I found an apartment, and then I found like a church. And I met my best friend from Korea. Her name is Emma. She's actually from the Netherlands.
Mm.
And like we
Oh,
met
lovely.
yeah, we met really early on. And so, like, ever since we've just done everything together, like, she's the best. So, yeah, mostly because of her. Actually, we always tell each other, like, if it wasn't for you, I would have left. Like, it's
Mm.
scary, but we were like
Sure.
close right off the bat.
It's amazing how those relationships can definitely make a difference. I've said
Mhm.
that to Cheryl about a lot of things before.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But, but really having those social supports is incredibly helpful. And when you don't have, I mean, not the same, obviously, but I have moved many times, even in adulthood, and lived in Washington for a while, and then moved down to San Francisco Bay Area, and then moved over to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and like to uproot yourself, right? And know nobody is already a huge thing to do, let alone with a very new language and, cultural differences and things like that. Like that's a huge shock to the system. And now having understood more sensory things, like to have all of that input that you're seeing, right, as you're in this, like that's a lot to deal with. And that's just a lot to even try to like process what's happening. I would have also probably just stayed inside.
I needed a reset. I was like, there's a lot of, also like neon signs and
Mm,
like
Mm.
Korea's very built like vertically.
okay.
So it's
Sure.
really tall buildings with like many stores going up. So
Mm.
it's like layered. So
Mm,
you're sitting in one place, but it's like a whole like town around you just on one block corner. So
Mm.
yeah, it was intimidating at first, but I love it now. Like it's my favorite. And my family actually visited and they had me as their guide, so they loved it. Like
oh,
they're
Wonderful.
kind of rebranding the area. It's called the Red Road, and it's always been a red road that you can walk down and go to all the like little Hongdae shops and the noraebang, like karaoke rooms and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my family like they loved going out on the red road and like going shopping and seeing everything and getting street food. So
mm,
yeah,
That's
I highly
great.
recommend Hongdae area, but
Okay.
it was scary at first.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you find it more difficult to write in Korean versus speak in Korean, or was it the reverse?
The reverse. It's so easy to write. Actually, okay, writing in Korean is very easy. Reading in Korean is very easy. I mean, spelling aside when I forget how to spell words.
sure.
Um, even speaking is not so bad because Hangul is like sometimes on lists of some of humanity's best inventions because of how fast the literacy rate improved in Korea after its invention. And the
Hmm.
reason why
Hmm.
it's so awesome is because the letters are shaped like the way that your mouth is shaped when you make the sound.
Oh.
Huh.
Yeah, so like the M is kind of a square because your like lips make almost a square shape when you make a sound.
Yeah.
And yeah, so on and so forth. The N sound is like neon. It's like your tongue kind of touches the top of your teeth when you make that sound, so it's shaped
Hmm.
the same way. And yeah, anyway, it's really interesting. So it's really easy to pronounce it. There's like people who say you can learn how to speak Korean out loud within like 5 minutes because it's really fast to learn the letters. But
Wow.
the listening is impossible for me. Like even still, taxi drivers try to talk to me, and I'm like, "Can you say that again?" Like, or I say
Hmm.
20, like slow. I need you to slow down.
Yeah, I mean, that's what anyone learning English, like I can't even imagine that being a second language to
Mm-mm.
come into and try to get. I don't even understand the complexities of it sometimes.
Mm-mm.
Luckily, like being a native speaker obviously has put me at an advantage for that, but I mean, if you which is which, like that's just mean.
Sure.
That's so
Sure.
mean.
Yep.
Right? And there's a
Yeah.
lot of beauty with it too, but geez,
Mm-hmm.
Louise, it is a complex one to learn. So,
Yes,
yeah, and it's such an amazing gift to be able to speak multiple languages. Um,
for sure.
so when you were going over there, did you go through a program to learn the language, or how did you sort of approach that?
So I was studying Korean for like maybe 2.5 years just after work with
Oh, okay.
there's like a program called Topic Guide. And
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest with you, it was kind of a bad omen, but I did really poorly on my topic is it's test of proficiency in Korean, TOPIK.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Um, I took my topic exam before I went, and I did not do well. I really like I kind of I've never experienced like choking during a test before. Kind of you see on
Mm,
Mm,
someone freezes and their hand is just shaking, but
mm,
that really happened to me. Like so I
mhm,
did do well on that test. But anyway, I felt like I could read some like and it's true even when I first landed, like I would be in the convenience store and I knew the food at the convenience store like based on the wrapper, like
mm-hmm.
what type of flavor it was or something like that.
Sure.
mm.
Or like I'm going down the street and I'm like, that's a pharmacy, that's a grocery store. Like I could read
Yep.
enough to get
Yep.
by and I could like say hello and thank you and things, but I couldn't, it was like survival Korean, not conversation.
Mm,
Mm.
For my major, you have to get to the topic score is out of 7, so you have to get to 4 to graduate. So I got to 4, but I stopped studying my last semester because it's really hard to like do my graduate research and
Mm.
learn Korean at the same time and
yeah.
also like have a job so I am not destitute. I was like, I have
Yeah.
to pause.
Small
um,
things. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine, as you know, we worked with folks from Japan, and it was always interesting to see them pause and then answer a question because we would ask a question in English, and how it was explained to me was they would hear it in their language and then they would translate it into English and then they would say it, they would give the answer in English. So there was always like a small delay for people just coming over to the United States. And I would imagine it's the same way, right? You're translating, you're hearing something in Korean and you're like, what does that mean? And you're translating that in your native language, and then you've got to respond in Korean. And it's probably like, I mean, I know and this is such a lame story, but I was in Paris for like 5 days, and I felt like it felt very claustrophobic to me initially because everybody spoke French, and I massacred the language, but I still tried to do it. But I remember being on their metro and somebody was speaking English, and I thought, oh, say more. Please say more because you miss it. Like there's sometimes where you miss it. Did you have those moments where you missed hearing, your own language?
There's kind of like a phenomenon that happens where like
Hmm.
when you first move there, like you hear other English speakers and you're like, a possible friend, and you get really excited. But then
Hmm.
it's not just me, it's like a psychological thing where like immigrants, if you count me as an immigrant, I'm like a student visa holder, but you know what I mean.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm. Hmm.
They tend to start avoiding people of their own kind once
Hmm.
they feel like they've acclimated to the culture. So by the end, if I
Hmm.
heard English, I was like, they better not be looking at me. Like I do not want to help them get wherever they're going. Like
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
my day. But it's like kind of like a survivalist thing where you're trying to fit in. And
Sure.
also it goes in with that idea of like if you've suffered something, you're not empathetic to those who are going through the same thing as you because you're like, I got out on my own, like you figure it out.
Mm.
Mm.
Anyway, but yeah, at first I would hear English and I would really want to go talk to those people, but they would
Hmm.
kind of like avoid me. And then I
Mm.
think I probably ended up that same I really tried not to be, but like sometimes I would be like, no, I'm really trying to get somewhere. Like I'm not on vacation. Like
Yeah.
Right. Right.
I need. So it would just depend. But like there are like more touristy areas in Seoul. And if I was there and there were like girls next to me like talking about their trip, I'd be like, you have to go to this place and like
Yeah.
tell them
Mm.
about my favorite spots. So it just would, I think, more depend on like what I was doing. If I'm like trying to go to
Yeah.
work, it's one thing. But if I'm hanging out at a cafe with my friend, then I'm more excited to talk to new people.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
That makes sense. Did you
Hmm.
always have I don't know, I mean, like to go, you went by yourself, right? You didn't know anybody there. Have you always sort of had that independent streak of like wanting to do things like, I mean, like that takes a lot of courage to go out somewhere completely new by yourself and explore this whole other new place. Has that been sort of a lifelong thing for you, or like what got you to even being able to feel like you were ready to go do something like that?
Actually, when I was in like high school, I went to summer camp for like a week and I've never had a migraine before or since, but I was so stressed out that like I thought my head was splitting apart and I
Mm,
could only like lay on my mom's lap and cry. I was really scared to go to summer camp. But this summer camp, they purposely like want a lot of surprises, so they don't tell you much about what you're doing. But my
mm,
mom had been at the camp as like a adult guest once. So she told me like A, B, C, like exactly what would happen each night. And
mm,
I ended up going. But yeah, I was like never one, even like vacation, I was like, can we not stay home? But then in college, I really wanted a study abroad experience. And my friend Lisa had done this thing called Semester at Sea. And it's
mm,
where if you've watched like Sweet Life on Deck, it's just like that, where when we're at sea, we study, and then when we're in a port, we can like explore a new country. And I didn't know anybody on that trip. And actually, I was really scared. Like, even for like a week, I was like really anxious and shaking. Like, whenever I like just paying for it that week, we
Hmm.
had to give them the money. I was like really freaking out.
yeah.
But there was this girl in college who I didn't like, and she said, "Oh, Tara's never going on that. Like, can you imagine like someone like Tara doing a trip like that as if?" And I was like, "Ah, I am
That's
going."
it. That's right.
Challenge accepted.
Hmm.
So I did, and then ever since I've been like, once you're at sea with no, you can't there's no Wi-Fi or like phone plan in the middle of the ocean, so like you're really cut off. So even like when I was planning to go to the next country on that trip, like I couldn't really plan that much because the only thing we had access
Oh
to was
yeah.
Wikipedia. So you just kind of like land and have to find like a cafe with internet and like a like Myanmar or something and then make your plans or you have to like do it while you're traveling the last country.
Mm.
So yeah, anyway, after that I'm like whatever, I can do anything. Like that was I did that, like what's the next thing?
Oh, that's incredible. Yeah, I love that. I always love the idea of that, the semester at sea. I just get very seasick. So,
Huh?
um,
Mm.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. And like I said, I would love to do it, but I know that I would just be terribly sick the whole time.
You could
um,
not do it. You could do the same trip for like a third of the price without semester at sea. So,
which is totally fair.
Sure.
So of all the places that you got to visit during that, what was the most interesting for you, or what was sort of the one that, sticks in your memory the most?
I always say like my first favorite was Japan because
Mm,
I
Mm.
watch a lot of anime. So when I was there, like I was in Kyoto and I watched a lot of Kyoto
Mm.
animations shows,
mm,
and
Mm-hmm.
they do something called rotoscoping, which is where they like take a picture and then trace it so they can have the
Oh,
back of the anime like
sure.
finished. And so like I would be on the train and I would be like, I know this train. Like
Oh.
that was really exciting. Or like my favorite show at the time is this show called Haikyuu. It's a volleyball show.
mm.
And they eat like meat buns after practice. And I was walking and I saw like a meat bun stand and I was like, we have to eat there. So that one I really liked. But then my number two and number three are I liked Vietnam and I actually really liked
Mm.
Myanmar, which is I'm really sad about what's happening there now. But
Mm.
yeah, Vietnam was great because it's really cheap massages and spa
Mm.
care.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay.
yeah. And I did a lot of art tours in Vietnam, so I think I like that. And the food is
Ooh.
Gotcha. Okay.
I've heard amazing things about Vietnam.
Mm.
Like my brother and his wife went at one point and they just had an amazing time. So they recommended it. I uh I also enjoy some anime, and my son is very into anime as well. So Japan is definitely on his list of places that he really wants to go and visit. And I mean, like, I don't know a lot. I don't, but I grew up watching Dragon Balls. And I mean, I always liked like Sailor Moon and stuff like that. So, uh, but anyway, yeah. So that's definitely on our list because he was like, and like he loves Pokemon. So like wants to go see where all of this stuff is from. And, um, yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun to take him at some point too. So that's on our list for traveling. So with your studies, I don't know, what's sort of the having now lived somewhere and you're back for just a month, right? What do you hope to take from that? Obviously, the education that you got from there. But what are some of the things you think you might be maybe translating from that experience into what you might want to do in the future? Or obviously you don't have to have a plan. That's the worst thing to ask somebody, I think. But I don't know, what were some of your learnings just from being there, and what are you bringing back?
I really like being in an international community.
Mm,
Mm.
Not everyone is great at like international, like cross-cultural, like communications and
Mm-hmm.
relationship building.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So it's more like a soft skill that I learned at that school and on semester at sea, but I would really like to be able in the future with my work, like I work in communications, so it seems like possible, but
Mm-hmm.
I love to help like bridge countries together, especially as the world's becoming more globalized. Um,
Mm,
but I'd really like to do that also in a really like thoughtful and ethical manner because something more like academic I studied is how globalization like affects like they like to say like central and periphery states differently.
Mm.
So
mm,
yeah, I would really like to use my skills to benefit everybody, I guess, and have a like more harmonious world, at least my little part of it. So yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
that's something I'd like to do. And then I would really like, I think I lost my train of thought, but I worked with
Okay.
kids while I was there, so I just really
Mm,
care about young minds too, I guess. And it's
Mm-hmm.
really interesting, like how kids are different in every country,
mm,
and like they all have really different struggles. So I don't know.
Mm.
Some part of me is thinking like maybe I should work for a nonprofit, like a global health organization or something,
Mm.
um, to like help kind of remove some of the difficulties that I see with kids all around the world.
Mm.
Mm,
But I don't know about that. That's kind of very niche goal to move forward towards, but it would be a really nice fit for me as well.
sure. And I could see you working with kids too. Like I think you have that energy and that spirit and also, the fact that you can, talk up a storm about K-pop and
Right.
like all the anime stuff. They would be like, "All right, I'm hanging with her. This sounds great,"
That
you
happens
know?
all the time at work. Like
Hmm.
I know the names of the members of this band called TXT, and the kids are like, really? And then we talk about TXT for like ever. Or there's this girl group, it's called New Jeans, and they have a song called Super Shy that was like super big. I mean, it's still really big, but
Hmm.
like I know the dance to Super Shy, and when it comes on all the time. So whenever it comes on, all the like 7-year-old girls are like dancing, and
Aw.
I joined them, and they were like, "What?" Like, it's so cute.
That's great. So, when you were in Korea and you're going through your study and you're going through the process of learning the language and understanding the culture and meeting friends and all of that, was there anything that was, for lack of a better term, was there anything that was like, ah, I'm in the right spot? Like, was there any particular experience that you were like, yep, this feels good?
Yes, I think I would be remiss to talk about my experience and not mention like my closest like family friends, I would say now there.
Mm.
Because my friend calls me my mom. She's like, I'm your mom, Tara. But she's really close to my age. But anyway,
Yeah.
um, so I worked at this company called Carrot World, and they do like programming for kids, but just in English. So if you're a
Mm.
little kid learning English, you can practice in a really casual like environment. Like we go to museums or we do crafts, and they
Oh.
can practice English without like doing memorization study.
Yeah.
It's like a soft practical skill kind of.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But anyway, one of my coworkers was her name is Pudam and her son is Wani. And they like are such a safe, happy place for me. So yeah,
Hmm.
like um whenever like we would be together, I would feel like everything was fine. And it's actually kind of funny because she started working at my company like the same week that I met my now ex-boyfriend. But
Mm.
like basically I met Wani, the 5-year-old who loves me, and Jahoon, my ex-boyfriend, at the same time, and they would always be competing. So like on White Day, which is like kind of like Valentine's Day, like Wani gave me chocolate first. So I'm like, Jahoon, you better get me chocolate because Wani's. And then
Oh
like
my gosh.
when a cherry blossoms bloomed, I happened to give a tour of this one park with Wani. So we saw them together first. And I'm like, you better see these with me, Jahoon. And then for my birthday, like I actually tutor Wani on that day. So like he gave
Mm.
me a present and I'm like, you better have a present planned for me, Jahoon. He just would get eked out like a little bit by Wani. So anyway, like I'm hoping they'll come visit me in the US, but I stayed with them like my last week there. So they were like a really like nice they like came to my graduation, her and her husband. And also, just a funny note, my favorite K-pop idol is Kim Taehyung. Like most people know that about me. But her husband's name, coincidentally, is also Kim Taehyung. So like
Mm.
whenever she would buy dinner, she'd hold up his card and be like, Kim Taeyang is treating. Or like I was texting my friend like, "Oh, don't worry, Kim Taeyang is driving me to the airport." And she's like, "Kim Taeyang is driving you to the airport." And I'm like, "I wish that one, but no, my friend."
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, and then I also have like some other good friends. Like I have like students from school like Binny and
Hmm.
Killeen and yeah, like I think and even like when I was leaving I was saying goodbye to all the cafe workers on my street because I have like 4 cafes that I like kind of go between.
Mm.
Koreans
Sure.
drink 3 cups of coffee on average per day, so I'm like drinking a lot of coffee and going to a lot of cafes on there.
Hmm.
But they all like gave me presents. Like they were all sad that I was leaving. Like one of them even
Oh,
cried. So I really felt like at home on my street, I guess.
I
That's really
love
lovely.
that.
Yeah,
I
it's
even have
really sweet.
a fishmonger. Like
Oh.
because I live next to a really old style like Chijang, like a market. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
I would always buy my fish from him and like we took a picture together. I'm like, I'm leaving you.
Yeah.
Like, no.
That's
Or this does
great.
not surprise me at all that you would have just developed these relationships with people and made such an impact on them. Like you were just such a light.
Aw.
I mean, even when I
Mhm.
mean, like we didn't even work in the same, area or department, but you were just always such a light whenever we got to interact. And for you to have built those connections while you were there is not surprising in the least, and just so wonderful to hear too.
Well, that's really nice. I
Yeah.
like I felt really surprised actually when I was leaving about like the people who would be sad that I was going. But
Mm.
yeah, I'm hoping like I was always like it's not my last time there. Like I will definitely go again, obviously. And yeah, Putum's always like, "Come back. You can stay in my guest room." Like, yeah,
Oh, I love that.
That's
So how long were
fantastic.
you there? How long was the entire stay for you?
like a little over 2 years.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know, Cheryl, you've never gone anywhere, done any like
No.
traveling like that, right?
No,
Yeah,
no,
okay.
not anywhere for, if it was a week, that was a lot. So that's 2 years
Hmm.
is amazing.
Yeah.
Um, I applaud you because you really followed your passion and you really went for it. And I did take a sneak peek at your Instagram, and you did have a moment to kind of say, "Hey, I'm really proud of myself." So, um, I think it's a lovely post. So, would you mind sharing with everybody what you walked away from, what you walked away with, rather, in terms of the academics? Because I think it's really impressive.
But yeah, I have my master's in Korean. Well, it's technically called Korean Studies, but like my branch of it was Korean culture and communications. And with that, I can now speak conversational Korean, which is like a huge deal to me personally because I've never had strong language skills. Like I always would get my worst grades. Like I tried to learn French. I don't know anything now in high school, and then I switched from French because I was so bad at it in college and took Spanish. And I remember like studying the hardest I've ever studied and getting like an A minus, which is not like me. So it was
Mm.
like really, really amazing for me personally to learn Korean. And then I also like am really proud of myself because I like maintained two part-time jobs while I was working there. So I didn't go into debt because of it, which is like a really big deal for me because I have a lot of financial anxiety.
Mm,
So
Mm.
I'm really proud of myself for that because it was not easy to do both at the same time.
yeah.
Mm.
And I was able to learn from some like really amazing professors. Like some of them advised like the president in Korea. And then
Wow. Okay.
one of my professors is amazing. He's like one of Korea's only five chess masters, and he has like a celebrity citizenship there, and he has like a million world records. Like his LinkedIn
Oh
is
my
incredible.
gosh.
So every semester, I'm like, I must take a Dr. Hyun class. Like, I need to learn from him. So,
Sure.
and plus, I was able to make like international friends from like all different corners of the world. And just like in general, I'm pretty proud of myself because Korea is very homogenous. So, like, anytime I left the house, I just looked completely different from everyone. And
Mm.
like, even if I'd been living on that street longer than anybody else, well, not anybody, but a lot of students live in my area. So even if I've
Yeah.
been living there longer than them, I look like the odd one out. So yeah, just like acclimating in those ways, I was really proud of myself. And yeah. And I'm also proud I made so many halabuchi friends in the park. That's grandpa friends in the park.
Oh.
Because I live next to this like memorial park.
Mm.
Like it's like Moon Park and it has like prison like kind of like a sad but like a Korean concentration camp that the Japanese had set up when they invaded. So anyway,
Oh, wow.
Wow.
there's a lot of like older Korean people who frequent that park and like either kind of reminisce on all of the different wars that have been fought in Korea or they
Mhm.
because also like during the Korean War there were like different like free kind of thinkers kept in this prison.
Mm.
So Yeah, there's a lot of veterans there. So anyway, but my neighbor told me to just like smile at all of them and bow, and so I did, and then now they give me free candy, which maybe I shouldn't accept, but I'm so glad we made friends.
That's very sweet.
That
I
is
love
so
it.
sweet.
I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness. So, Tara, when you returned to the US, what was the first thing you did?
Well, that's a good question. I mostly went straight to sleep, but uh, I because it's like 26 hours like
Yeah.
in to get from like
Wow.
where I was staying in Seoul to my house. And you're on the
Hmm.
plane for like I think like 18 of those. So it was really exhausting. But
Sure.
Wow.
this time I'd actually been home for like a week for Christmas. So there wasn't like anything that felt like really pressing, like I have to have this now.
Mm.
But I will say
Gotcha.
I really missed Mexican food. So Mexican
Mhm.
food was really high on the list. And also like seeing my grandma and
Mm.
seeing my best friend here. Well, one of them, her name is Kim.
Mhm.
Actually her name first name's Kim, her last name's Kim, so Kim Kim. And she came to my house and we ended up both falling asleep. I was jet lagged and it was after her work week and she like is
Yeah.
well, so she just passed out and me too. And like neither of us could wake up. So yeah, I guess seeing a few people. But the last time I came home, I was so sad because I wanted a spicy chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A, like so unbelievably bad. Like I would be dreaming about it.
Mhm.
But after spending like 2 years in Korea, the spicy chicken sandwich is like not at all spicy to me. I literally thought it was the normal crispy sandwich and was like, this is the spicy one. So anyway, it's ruined. But yeah, that was the other thing I was really craving.
That's great.
Do you like the spice now? Like, do you miss that from being over there?
Yeah, because right now I'm staying
Yeah.
with my parents because like I just moved home and I'm looking for
Yeah.
a time position. But
Mhm.
neither of them really eat spicy food, and they also don't really like pickled food very much, which is
Mm.
Mhm.
Like
Korea. Like
kimchi.
yeah, kimchi, but like they have
Mhm.
many types of kimchi. So there's like the typical cabbage one you're thinking of, but like I like a radish one a lot, and then there's
Mm.
Ooh.
like a green onion one. Like there's so many, and
Mhm.
there's like white kimchi, red kimchi, like etc. And even their pickles are a lot different. It's like a bread and butter pickle. But
Mm.
Mm.
yeah, I really miss pickly things and I really miss spicy things. But it hasn't been too long, and my neighbor actually is Korean, so like
Mm.
we'll eat together a lot. She really likes spicy food, but she's scared to give me spicy food, and I'm like, no, Jin, I can do it now. I
Oh, that's funny. Oh my goodness. So I'm curious because you were talking about how there's like a Valentine's Day that's over there. What are some of the other holidays or things that you got to learn about or celebrate while you were there that were obviously different from what we have in the United States?
Yes, so they have like some cute ones. Like they have Valentine's Day, and I can't remember exactly, but I think it's like girls give boys chocolate on Valentine's Day.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I made my ex-boyfriend chocolate. I just can't remember which day it was.
Sure.
But and the girls usually make it. Then a
Hmm.
month later, on March 14th, the boys reciprocate and they
Mm.
give like white chocolate usually or like a gummy fruity thing to the girls
Hmm.
and they don't make it because they're losers. And then another month later, April 14th, they have Black Day. And
Okay.
there's this Korean noodle dish called jjajangmyeon, and it's made with like black bean like
Okay.
kind of like very creamy lo mein is the best thing I can compare it to.
Okay.
But it's black, and so the single people cry and eat jjajangmyeon alone on that day. So
Okay. Got it.
we hadn't broken up by that point, but I did eat jjajangmyeon that day because it's like the big thing to do. And
Sure.
then there's a snack. It's called pepero, and they're like pocky
Oh,
sticks.
sure.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, and on 11/11, it's Pepero Day because it looks like four little Pepero sticks. And
Oh, okay.
Oh.
yeah, and my friend gave me Pepero, and I remember being like, "Why is all the Pepero on sale today?" Like every convenience store had like a Pepero outside, and like get this and like big gift sets. But yeah, and then then they have something called Chuseok, and it's like Korean Thanksgiving, and you
Mm.
go home, and usually you like it's for the veneration of your like ancestors.
Got it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sometimes like Christian families, if they're like monotheistic, because it's a little Koreans a Korea has a culture of multiplicity with religions, so even if
Mm-hmm.
you think of it as a monotheistic religion, they might practice like a few. But
Mm-hmm.
Christians tend to not want to do that. So anyway, it's debatable if it's secular or not. Like, but regardless,
Mm.
um, the they have this Thanksgiving Day and they eat like some typical cultural foods. So I got to have that with one of my friends.
Mm.
Her name's Tara, and she lives in a hanok, so that was like a traditional house. So
Mm-hmm.
that was really cool. And then also they have a new it's called Solal, and it's a New Year's celebration. And then I didn't really participate in that one because I don't have any that's when they bow to their grandparents and get money, and I don't have any grandparents in Korea.
Mm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But last one was actually Buddha's birthday, which I went to the lantern celebration for Buddha's birthday. They have like a parade. So
Oh,
yeah, anyway,
fun.
there's a lot of cool, interesting holidays there.
Yeah,
That's
I
terrific.
find that stuff amazing and
Mm-hmm.
fascinating, and to be able to take part in that and be a part of that while you're living in that is just incredible.
Yeah, the lanterns were amazing. Like it was really cool to see them walking down the street, and all the Korean traditional outfit is called a hanok.
Okay.
Wait, oh
Okay.
my gosh, I'm sorry. That's the house. Hanbok.
It's,
Anyway, it was really cool because they all wear their hanboks and hold their lanterns. So that holiday was really excellent to see. And actually, the second year I was there, I forgot it was Buddha's birthday. And where I go hiking, I usually hike through like a temple because temples are
Mm-hmm.
usually really high on the mountain. So
mm.
I accidentally went to like a really big ceremony with
Oh.
like singing and incense. And I'm like, ah, let me get out. I don't mean to interrupt. But yeah.
Oh man, that's funny.
What an amazing experience you had. I mean, I don't know. I hope you can find a way to kind of like decompress and really reflect on the time because we've obviously asked you a few questions, but 2 years is a long time to be anywhere and to experience um, such a different culture um, from the United States and everything like that. It sounds like the things that you participated in were absolutely beautiful. And I love that you had all these great experiences with people from all different ages. Um,
Well,
and
yeah.
it's just, yeah, it just sounds like it's such a great vibe. It's just a beautiful thing that you've done. Um, and I guess I'm going to hand it over to Eileen because Eileen has a famous question that she asks all of our guests because you've had quite an experience and you're kind of coming back, um, uh, to your hometown and figuring out some of the things. So, Eileen, why don't you go ahead and
Yeah,
ask your
sure.
famous question?
Yeah. So, we kind of talked a little bit just in terms of what you're bringing back and, what you're thinking about wanting to kind of do with that. But so this is happening, right? It's a statement that I make more specifically, when I've fully committed in my heart to knowing that something is going to exist in this world, right? It's a podcast, it's the book that I wrote. Like, I just know that whatever it is, I have made this determination that something is going to be happening in my life. Whether from this experience or just now being back, is there anything that you're feeling like is on your heart that you know that this is going to be happening anytime in the near future, long future, any of that? But this is happening
Um,
for Tara.
That's a good question because I feel so like adrift right now. I've had like such a clear goal that I was working towards, and now I've graduated and completed it.
Mm,
But maybe it doesn't sound like a big goal for now, but I have
doesn't have to be.
two kind of small goals other than like getting a job and maybe being married one day or something. But the small interim ones that I feel kind of more control over, I really want to go on Well, I want to take my mom on a trip in Canada. It's a train and you don't sleep on it. It's a sightseeing train, but it
Mm.
goes from I literally it goes from Banff to Vancouver.
Mm.
Um,
Ooh,
and it looks amazing. It's very expensive to go on it, but that is like that's dream number one is to go on
Hmm.
this train, like, and see, you get to see like the Canadian wilderness. And if you go
Hmm.
the right time of year, you can see salmon migrating. And yeah, it looks gorgeous. So I would really
Hmm.
like to do that. And my other goal where I'm like, this is happening is my poor father, he picked me up in Germany when I finished semester at sea. And like, if you know my dad, he's like Italian American. Like, trust me, he has no interest in going to Germany. Like, he is like, he knows what he likes, and it's Italy. Um,
Hmm.
fair.
and here. So anyway,
Hmm.
and then he came and visited me in Korea. So I'm really grateful for him, and I really want to take him to Italy. So as soon as I get a job, I'm making the savings account, and like I will be taking him. Like he has done too many stupid trips he doesn't want to go. Well, he loved it, but like trips he
Yeah.
doesn't really want to go on. So I'd like to
Hmm.
take him on one he like that's been like a lifelong dream of his, especially because my grandparents both immigrated from Italy when they were like kids. So I guess maybe their parents did, but
Hmm.
anyway, they lived like my grandpa was a tailor and had 8 kids. So
Mm.
they had
Okay.
like no money, and it's like a miracle that my dad like was able to work and study and get to the position he is now. But like for any of them to be able to travel internationally, like based on their upcomings, like any of his siblings, it would be really incredible. So I really want to take him. Yeah, he probably doesn't need me to pay for him. He could definitely pay for it himself, but I want to do it. It's like the principle. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
happening.
That's lovely. That's really
Those are
lovely.
big. I mean,
Those are
well, they
big.
don't,
That's not
not that they,
small.
no, not that they have to be big, but those
Hmm.
are big.
Yeah.
Or for some
Yeah.
people, maybe for some people that don't move all the way to South Korea, but
Hmm.
those
Yeah,
are
I don't
big.
have to learn a language
Right.
or
True.
like
That's true.
paid like thousands of dollars, like compared to I had to save for my tuition, so it was like a lot more. But
Hmm.
yeah, anyway, it's
Yeah.
small compared to moving somewhere, I guess.
That's fair.
That
Yes.
is true. That's true.
I've heard, so I live in Washington State and have been to Vancouver. Love it dearly. I've heard Banff is just amazing. So I can't wait to see pictures and things of that trip happening. And it sounds like something my son would be very interested in because he loves trains. So
Ooh.
I might have to check that out. Or if you want to send me some stuff on that, I would love to see
Yeah,
that because that sounds amazing.
there's a lot of options because the one I'm thinking of is like a 2-day trip, but you could
Mm.
also do like much shorter trips for less.
Hmm.
But the reason why it's very expensive is there's this like gold platinum member or something like that, and they give
Hmm.
you little canapes and like free drinks and like
Oh, fun.
really fancy. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's why I'm like, it has to be that one. Like we're going. My mom's retired
Definitely.
here, so I'm like, I need a job so I can pay for this so we can go.
That's so wonderful. Oh my goodness. Tara, how do people connect with you? How can people connect with you?
Oh yeah, my Instagram is
Mhm.
probably the best way. Although you could if you're Korean and you're listening, you could connect with me on Kakao. I'm
Mhm.
Tara Siano with no space on Kakao. But then on Instagram, I'm Tara Gracie Lacey. My middle name is Grace, and that's what my dad calls me, Tara Grace Lacey.
Lovely. All right, everyone. I can't believe we're at the hour with this, but Tara, it was a pleasure, and I'm so glad we had the opportunity to catch up. We wish you continued success and travel adventures, and may the world be your oyster because you have done so many things, and uh, as work alumni, as you and Eileen are work alumni, I'm super proud of you, folks. This concludes our episode of You Only Go Once. On behalf of my lovely co-host Eileen Grimes and myself, enjoy your evening, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.